So in the previous episode of New Horizons, we began our journey of automation. It's one thing we'll be continually developing and is the key to success in achieving our mission in this series, the Tier 7 rocket. We started with a list and managed to work our way through some of it by assembling and automating the bending machine, the forming press, the wire mill, assembling machine, the lathe, the polarizer, and the laser engraver. Well, we got at least the initial stages of automation for all these machines. We still have lots of things to check out and learn as we continue our adventure in New Horizons. Hello everyone and welcome back. So, I'm sure many of you guys also play this game, right? I mean, many of you also don't. I guess there's a limited number of us who are crazy enough to play GTNH. But yes, in basically any version of Minecraft, it's very easy to log into your world and end up lost, which is becoming a thing in this base. We might have to add some more distinguishing features around here. I don't necessarily mean physically lost, I mean lost on where you want to go, even with an expansive quest book like we have here in GTNH. So we entered the age of automation last episode, adding tons and tons of machinery here, which is just the beginning. It's very easy for us just to keep adding interfaces to this, which we will have to do. This point in the game, we just have to keep building machines, keep building machines. But we need to do it with a purpose, right? Yeah, what I'm basically getting at here is we need a North Star. We need something to work towards here in the automation journey. So one thing I've been talking about for a number of episodes by now is platinum. And currently we are pretty much rationing all of the platinum that we have. Or lack thereof. Yeah, we're out here placing the miners. And at this point we can technically upgrade these things, but we might as well put them to use. We have went through a lot of resources in the last few weeks, and these things haven't had nearly enough uptime, so it's time that we get these things going again. We need to keep the resource train flowing. Wait, that's not that's not how fuel works. We don't want to send benzene in. Okay, benzene goes into the gas turbine. There we go, now it should turn on, right? Yes, perfect. I did also go ahead and set up the multi-block miner, which has a new sound in 2.3. Oh yeah, and we're out here next to this house. Many of you long-time viewers know what this is. It's still here in its bare-bones state. Still without a bed though. Anyways, yes, platinum. It's a very, very intimidating looking quest line. Oh, look how majestic the keyhole is. I love it. I love this base so much. It's probably one of my favorites I've ever built, and it's still a long ways from being finished as well, of course. We still have lots and lots to do on this. But yes, platinum. It's this very intimidating looking line over here, and platinum is only the beginning of the process. We can also get osmium, osmiridium, ruthenium, ruridite, iridium, palladium, rhodium-plated palladium, rhodium, and I think that's it, ruthenium. Did I say ruthenium? Yep, we need all of them, and we are going to build the full line, of course. I might be able to find a few flowcharts. Yeah, it's not... it's a long line of machines. Lots and lots of chemical reactors, assembling machines, blast furnaces, electrolyzers, centrifuges, you name it, it has it. So, the idea is to use these machines to automate the production of new machines to make platinum. And that will be our North Star. That gives us a purpose and an order of operations. Wait a second, stop the music, hold on, look at this, we've got a 2-block gap on this side of the room, between the catwalk and the machines, and on this side we've got a 1-block gap. Professional. Alright, it took a little while, but things are now fixed. I moved everything forward, and we now also have a brand new chemical reactor, running at EV of course. We're going to give it an input hatch and input bus, and this will handle more fluid on-demand crafting as we saw last episode. We'll give it a dual interface into ingredient buffer, conveyor module on the input bus, set to import, and then fluid pipe to grab the fluid into the input hatch. We'll make sure to give everything channels, including the output, which takes an interface. And so this thing is to make circuit boards. And right now we have to be concerned with 5 tiers of circuit boards. Yeah, there's 9 in total. We need to make the regular circuit board, the good circuit board, advanced, and more advanced. There's one we're missing. Oh yeah, and plastic. Yeah, so 5 circuit boards here we need to make. And of course, circuit boards are used in making circuits. used in all the machines, which we need a lot of here, so this is a very crucial step for us. And previously we were doing manually in this chemical reactor. Do we have any spare here? We don't. Okay, so circuit boards are a two-step process, so I might consider adding a second chemical reactor. For now, we're just going to do it all in one, which should theoretically be possible. So if we look at the plastic board, for example, the final step is copper foil and the plastic board with iron 3. To get the regular plastic circuit boards, we have to do some form of plastic sheet. I think the higher tier the plastic, the more output we get. I'm right now undecided on which plastic we are going to use. I think we're going to do polyethylene we are going to do polyvinyl chloride since that gives us 2 boards per sheet, but isn't necessarily polytetrafluoroethylene, which we're not exactly swimming in right now. Yeah, the recipe might change in the future. We might swap it out. You guys also had a great suggestion. In fact, a few of you guys left some comments. Thank you, by the way. I read all the comments. On the naming system for our interfaces, we are going to call this chemical reactor. 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 Like this. We are also going to include the fact that it's a dual interface that we're dealing with, meaning that it can handle fluids and items. And then we'll omit the fact that it's EV, since a lot of these will be overclocking over time and having to rename every single interface is no fun. So yeah, you guys are right. I'm going to rename all of these ones that we have existing and take out the fact that they're EV. We'll keep the circuit numbers though, where applicable. Unfortunately, we don't have too many interfaces at this point. This is wire mill 16. Okay, I think I've got everything renamed. The patterns, of course, go inside the dual interface here on the chemical reactor. And now I think we're going to be missing the fluids, right? Let's see if we can request a plastic circuit board. Yeah, that's what I thought. We are missing iron 3 chloride, which we do have automated over here in the chemistry room. One of these chemical reactors. I think it's this one. And I have it turned off right now to save some chlorine. But we should still have a decent backlog in fluid storage. I think it's this tank over here. This one. Yeah, we've got 445 buckets. Not too bad, that'll give us a lot of circuit boards. We do have to give it a storage bus though, a fluid storage bus, so that we can expose it to the fluid terminal, or rather, the network in general. Let's see if we find the tank here. This one. Oh, first time, look at that. Hopefully we have enough channels back here. And the other thing we need is sulfuric acid. Do we have a thing on sulfuric acid already? We do. We have a fluid storage bus already. Okay. Yeah, the sulfuric acid is used a lot in the first stage for the circuit boards. It's normally the formula is sulfuric acid plus some form of metal foil plus some form of plastic sheet gives you the first version of the board. And then you combine it again with iron 3 chloride, another version of metal sheet, and the board you just made. And it gives you the final version of the circuit board. So from here I encoded all 10 recipes for all 5 circuit boards, including the foil recipes which go in our brand new bending machine. And we should be able to test the system once the gold smelts up here in the steam oven. Steam oven. You know what, oh, there's some extra platinum in here as well. Oh nice, and some more basalt, we were running out of that. You know what, I think today is the day we replace the steam oven. What do you guys think? It's about time, right? When did we build this? Like episode 5 or maybe even 6? And it's the only furnace in the base. I think that has to change for sure. Yeah, we'll make the multi-smelter this episode, I think. But let's first of all make sure we can request all these circuit boards first. Let's start with the basic versions. So yep, welcome to Gregtech. This is going to happen a lot. Pin the things that we're missing as we go and we'll address them. So epoxid sheets, I kind of saw this coming. Epoxid sheets is made from fluid solidifying epoxy, which we have here, which looks like it's also turned off. It is fully automated though. I think it's just chlorine that's our bottleneck, but once we're able to get the crops, yeah, just to refresh your memory here, we have salty root, which we cannot send back to the base because we do not have ender chests yet. The ender chests require iridium, which we're going to be able to make from the platinum line. And once we get the ender chest, we already have processing set up for the crops, which gives us chlorine from the salty root. So that should take care of the chlorine problem. And right now we also have another over 450 buckets of epoxid. So today we're going to have to set up some way of fluid solidifying passively. I don't think that's something we want to do on demand, but let's pin it and we'll move on to the next one. The plastic boards are from... Oh, I missed a recipe here. Okay, the plastic boards we can request. Clear crafting screen, that is perfect. Okay, let's test the more advanced circuit board. I don't see why this wouldn't work, but just to make sure, it should turn on here, right? I hear the bending machine making the foil. It's going to be sent to the chemical reactor, and it's a 1-second recipe. That's perfect, perfect. And we should again have a clear crafting status. Yes. Alright, so I guess the next step is to fix epoxy. We are just going to keep tackling the issues as they come at us, but we're going to do it properly. We're not going to rush through things. We want to make sure this is proper to avoid having to go back and fix it later on. At least that's the hope anyway. And of course, there is a few other things we have to fluid solidify it, like the polyvinyl chloride sheets, which are also used in the bending machine for foil. We can add a recipe for this though later on. And then the foil is used in the assembler to make SMDs, which are used in all the circuits. So let's pin a couple of recipes here. We've got polyvinyl chloride sheets, we've got epoxide sheets, we've got polyethylene sheets, which we also have to do. Is there any other sheets? Rubber sheets, yeah, rubber. Molten rubber sheets will also do this. And polytetrafluoroethylene sheets, yeah. Because this is used in chemical reactor production. Right? Yeah, it's used to make PTFE pipe casing and all the chemically inert casing, which is used for the large chemical reactors. These casings right here, and we need a million of these things for the platinum line. And then one more you might have noticed is pinned is the wooden planks, which are used for the very primitive versions of the circuit boards, these ones here. And wooden planks is just compressing sawdust. So we can group this in with the same thing. So it's 6 different sheets that we need, and we are going to do it passively. Here we go. Well, it seems like we've run into some scope creep here. Our list has expanded to 15 different machines, at least to begin with, although I can foresee us adding a few more today as well. And you know what? I thought that we could tackle this together. It's been a while since we've done a full setup on camera. And this video is feeling like a really old school type of threefold video. Similar to what you'd find in Divine Journey 2. And we done a lot of this in Divine Journey 2. It's so fun. It's so fun. So as usual, we have a power connection, LUV to IV, IV to EV, EV to HV, HV to MV. And this is high amp transformer. We also have an AE connection, and we're connecting to the same P2P as this one, Northwest 1, which still has some channels available. We're only using 13 of 32, so we still have the rest to use here. Although I don't suspect we'll need too many channels for this. I also mentioned last episode about switching the orientation of the power cable and the Fluix cable. I did start to do that, in fact. I rewired this whole section over here. I don't know if it looks cleaner or not in this specific section because of this little loop here, but there's not really much we can do about that. At least it's all hidden underneath, right? Okay, so what exactly is going on here? Well, we have 9 fluid solidifiers, 3, 6, 9. We have an assembly machine, a chemical bath, and 3 fluid extractors. And yeah, the scope creep I mentioned here, I thought, you know, if we're fluid solidifying one thing, we might as well fluid solidify everything we need all at once. At least the things we want to do passively, right? So we'll start with the fluid solidifiers. We're going to run ender fluid conduits to all the machines. And oh yeah, of course they connect to the energy cable. I don't know why they do that, but yeah. And this ender fluid conduit is going to connect to a dual interface down here somewhere. Yeah, we can put it right here. And this will be to stock all the different fluids. So it works exactly the same as the item behavior. If you want to stock an item, like Corp, for example, and you place it here, it's going to try to keep it stocked, and we can take this out of our AE system. We can do the same thing for fluids here if we switch to fluid mode. And we'll start with molten rubber. I did put a fluid storage bus on the rubber tank. So we need to solidify this into two different versions. We need the sheets and we need the rings. And the rings are used in all the pumps. Electric pumps. I think you can actually do pumps in an assembler. Oh, wait a second, that was the old recipe. Correct me if I'm wrong, all of you long-time Gregtech players. Wasn't the pump recipe molten rubber? Or was that in Community Edition? It's been I don't know. I've played so many different versions of Gregtech. I could have sworn there was one version which had molten rubber here instead of the rubber rings. Anyways, we need to filter rubber here. We can add it to the filter on the conduit. And we'll insert brown. And once we enable round robin extract from the dual interface, we should start to see those things being fluid extracted. Yes, we do. Yeah, so we're getting rubber rings. Let's put this in the drawer below. And rubber sheets in here. And we do need a way to automatically extract them. So we are just going to use item conduit for this, which can share the block space with the ender fluid conduit. And that is going to go into the drawer controller down here. You can probably see where this is going, right? There's going to be so many filters to set. So all we have to do from the machines is extract blue. And before we do this, let's make sure we lock the drawer controller. And remember, in GTNH, the drawer controller has a range of 4, so we can't really go much further than this. These ones here are fluid extractors, so this is going to be a fluid output. We actually don't need that drawer controller back there. So once we extract blue on the conduit, we want to insert blue on the drawer controller. And that should insert everything into the drawer here. But I don't think we want to keep a full drawer of rubber. Or maybe we do. It's going to be 1024 of each, right? Because a full drawer is 2048. So 1024 rubber rings and sheets. Yeah, we might as well. Rubber is pretty cheap. But the other ones, specifically the epoxy stuff, I don't think we want to keep 2048. Alright, so we have rubber. Let's now do polytetrafluoroethylene. And do we have a fluid storage bus? We do not have a fluid storage bus. And I did manage to add a recipe actually in the assembling machine. So we can actually autocraft these things now. Not all the way from the raw materials yet. We need some of this extra fluid solidifier infrastructure to make that happen. Gonna have to add some extra dense cable here. Give us enough channels down the line. And now we should be able to add our fluid storage bus to polytetrafluoroethylene. Partition. And now we should see it in the dual interface back here, right? Yes, we do. Perfect. So once again, we can extract on blue on the item conduit. Filter the insertion of the fluid conduit on brown. For PTFE though, since it's not as abundant as rubber, we do want to downgrade the drawer. And oh my goodness, they finally added this thing to GTNH. The last time we played this had no recipe. And while it's still quite obnoxious to craft, at least it's available. So yeah, the drawer downgrade allows you to downgrade the drawer storage levels to 1 stack by default. Right now we are just going to keep it at 1 stack, but we can add further upgrades to this thing. And it will start as a baseline at 1 stack. So it gives us really fine control on how much we buffer. So for the PTFE we need the bars and we need the plates. So again we can set the drawer, and that is another 2 items off the list and now on passive. Next fluid is going to be polyethylene, and we'll also add polyvinyl chloride here as well. Oh, which doesn't have a fluid storage bus. Oh boy, we are going through a lot of storage buses here. You know what, I bet we're using so much power in our AE system now. Yeah, almost 2000 EU a tick. Subnet is now up to 289. Oh my goodness. These turbines must have some maintenance issues by now, right? Surely by now. I have been checking these things every single day since we set them up, and still there's been 0 maintenance, which I'm very surprised about. Oh, and the durability is still at 3 million. Wow, that is crazy. Wow, these things are going to last forever. It was definitely worthwhile investing in HSSE for these rotors. Yeah, look at that. Still 3,032,000 out of 3,072,000. And we got to add fluid storage to polyvinyl chloride as well as silicon rubber. Fortunately, they are right next to each other though. For polyvinyl chloride, I believe we only need the plate mold. And for molten polyethylene, I think the same thing is true, only the sheets are required. At least in large quantities. At least we want to do passively. There might be some very, very niche cases where we need some other form of silicon rubber or polyvinyl chloride, for example. Like pipes, maybe. But those we're going to do on demand. We don't really need to keep them stocked passively. Oh yeah, and these ones we do want to downgrade as well. So polyethylene and PVC. One other thing to bear in mind is even though we're only keeping a stack here, there's always going to be a stack kept in the buffer of the machine as well. And there is ways to get around that if we use a level emitter, but honestly I don't really think it's necessary. Let's also add silicon rubber. And just to keep things consistent, I'm going to move this fluid solidifier and the assembly machine. And I forgot to mention, all of these things are MV, of course. Since it's passive, we don't really need it to be blazing fast. So silicon rubber is going to get plates and rings. Even though, for example, in the MV pump, we can use either regular rubber or silicon rubber. In the higher tier IV pump, that is non-negotiable. It's either styrene butadiene rubber, which we don't have automated, or silicon rubber, which means we need both the silicon rubber and the regular rubber rings. I thought I heard an enderman there. Or maybe it was an ender creeper. And yeah, these we want to downgrade for sure, because this takes chlorine to make, so... Oh, nice. Hey, I did hear an enderman, and he's vandalizing our base. Where did he go? That guy is gone. That guy is gone. Alright, so the last fluid is going to be epoxy. Molten epoxide, I think it's called. This one is also going to get a plate mold, and same as before. However, this time it also has to be distributed into a chemical bath. And we are kind of planning ahead a little bit doing this. Oh my goodness, that enderman, he just scared me so much. I think I just had a heart attack. Alright, so do you guys remember when I said we might have to add a few more machines than 15 down there? Well, it turns out it's going to be at least another handful. Starting with a second assembling machine, which we'll do at MV. On the other hand though, maybe we can just steal this one. Steal is a strong word though, so maybe borrow. This one. So we now have... back when I was setting up the chemical reactor, I forgot about a few circuit boards. At least the first stages. The first one is wooden planks, which I mentioned is done in a compressor, but actually it's more efficient if we do it in the assembling machine with refined glue. In fact, it's way more efficient. It's 1-to-1 with wood pulp, rather than 8-to-1. And this one we won't bother downgrading because we have way more refined glue than we know what to do with. And wood pulp, I'm not actually sure if we have this on passive already. Do we have any producers of wood pulp? Do we make it here? Huh, we might have to add a... Well, it looks like we might have to add a macerator to this as well. But for now, if I remember right, we have quite a lot in storage. Yeah, 1500. That's not too bad. We're also going to grab these wooden planks and store them in here. So yeah, that is the first board taken care of for the circuit boards. The other one is for the good circuit board, which needs the phenolic board. And this is also made in an assembler. It's exactly the same recipe, wood pulp and refined glue. Only instead of circuit 2, it's circuit 1. So we're just going to add a second assembler here, which we took from upstairs. Filter in refined glue. And add an item filter this time for wood pulp. Circuit 1, and that is also another item off the list, although we are missing power for this machine. And I built this power cable out of block from the machine because I thought we were going to have to run Fluke's cable up here, but it doesn't appear like that is going to be the case, so I'm just going to move this whole thing forward. And probably the transformer under there as well. Yeah, you're not going to get enough power. Probably the transformer underneath, I'll just move forward. There, and that is much cleaner anyway. And yeah, we're also now making phenolic circuit boards passively. The refined glue here, by the way, we do make out of this centrifuge. And it looks like we are now out of, but as soon as we get the crops going again, we are going to be swimming in that stuff, so I'm not really worried about the lack of refined glue. Alright, so the other thing here, the last machine which is not configured, maybe just to recap, we now have rubber rings, rubber sheets, PTFE bars and sheets, polyethylene sheets, PVC sheets, silicon rubber rings and sheets, wooden planks, phenolic boards, epoxy resin sheets, and the last one is a chemical bath with epoxy and what is going to be raw carbon fiber. And this will be used for the fiber reinforced epoxy resin sheet. We do need a way to make raw carbon fiber though. So you know what, maybe a better word is repurpose. We're going to repurpose our HV autoclave. You're coming with me. And if we're adding more machines, we might as well also add a macerator. We have one here at HV, so we're going to grab this one at HV. And it will make the powering these machines much more simple. That does mean we have to find some way to get HV power here, because all this is MV, so I mean, the transformers aren't exactly placed ideally. Although, you know what? I bet we could do something like this. As long as we don't connect this cable into that transformer there. Yeah, and then we'll use this space on the end here, and we'll keep this one for the fluid extractors. Okay, good plan. So macerator and autoclave. Here. Well, with a plan established, I got to work filtering all the machines, configuring the autoclave, the macerator, and the fluid extractors. That doesn't mean that I've forgotten about this steam oven though. We are going to fix it right now, and the solution is the multi-smelter. We could have technically crafted this all the way back in MV, as soon as we had access to HV circuits, which it looks like has finished crafting, and we are going to make 2 of these things. We're going to build 2 multi-smelters. There's our achievement. Smelt all the things, yes indeed. Yeah, check out the tooltip on this thing. Smelts up to, well, between 8 and 8,192 items at once. At once. This thing is a beast. Probably the best smelter in all of modded Minecraft. So one of them is going to go in here somewhere. Although I did plan, well, I have a rough plan of the way I want this room to go. And the multi-smelter doesn't really belong in any of these locations. We can't put it in these spaces because this is on a chunk boundary. So it's actually planned for areas we haven't built yet, but I don't want to delay this any further. So we are going to place it right here. Before we do that though, let me show you guys what we have in this room here. I believe this is now complete, and I really hope we didn't miss anything here. So as you can see, we have now expanded the list of items that we now have on passive. First of all, the chemical bath that used to be here is now replaced with an alloy smelter. And this alloy smelts antimony and tin to make us soldering alloy. The soldering alloy is buffered in the drawer below with epoxide sheets, which still remain here in the fluid solidifier. And the chemical bath has been upgraded to HV and now lives over here for fiber reinforced epoxy resin sheets. Before we get onto that though, we also have 3 fluid extractors. The first one is for that soldering alloy, the second one is for glowstone, and the third one is for redstone, for molten glowstone and redstone respectively. On the redstone and glowstone, I was considering giving them their own space in fluid storage, but we don't need to buffer that much. And we don't have passive glowstone yet. Very soon we will though, it's planted already, ready to go here in the farm. So because they're not sent back to fluid storage, we've given them their own fluid storage bus directly on the machine. So all we have to do with this is a partition and extract only. And this will act exactly as you expect it to. It shows up here, and this is reading the internal buffer of the machine. So that way we buffer minimal amounts and don't use all of our redstone or glowstone. Redstone really isn't a problem right now though. The soldering alloy, on the other hand, in this fluid extractor, we don't have any right now, even though it's in the drawer. And that is because, oh yeah, we added another door through here, same as the rest of the rooms. And that is because we're missing a storage bus on the drawer controller. We'll set this to high priority, and everything should be locked here. So what we've done here is expose all of these items into the AE network. We should see all of those rubber rings and so on. Yeah, 2,000 rubber sheets. And then we request it in the interface back there and filter it into the fluid extractor, and we're now getting soldering alloy, which, if you'll recall, we did previously give a space in fluid storage over here. I've switched out the super tank with a regular low voltage tank, just so we don't run through all of our tin and antimony right now. Although I can foresee us upgrading this later on. Soldering alloy, just as a reminder, is used for all of the circuits. It's actually needed as a fluid in pretty much every single circuit assembler recipe needs soldering alloy. So that is just sent through a fluid P2P tunnel. And the last 3 machines here is the macerator for sawdust, for wood pulp rather. And this is just taking spruce wood, which is being farmed in the tree farm up here. Currently turned off because we have a lot of wood backlogged, just to save some FPS. The next machine is the chemical bath, which we stole from over here, or switched places. And the last one is the autoclave, which mixes epoxid and epoxid and carbon dust, which we are actually out of. Very close to being out of. It looks like I might have missed it in the interface. Yeah, all we have to do is add it in one of these interfaces. I did shift these over a few blocks, but they're pretty much exactly the same. We just filter the items that we need. And yeah, we can see carbon is now being sent to that autoclave. here, right? And it's going to make us raw carbon fiber. We'll send this into the drawer below using automatic output. And for these, we will just buffer a full drawer. We might have to add some extract speeds on the conduit back there. Oh yeah, and there's also going to be one more storage bus, since this is on a different drawer network. It's just the wood pulp, the carbon fiber, and what will be the fiber reinforced boards on this network. Again, high priority. And things should already be locked in there, I think. Right? And that should mean that these carbon fiber is being requested in the interface. So it's being sent to the chemical bath, and we're getting our fiber reinforced epoxy resin sheets. Automatic output to the drawer below. And that completes the last item we need for circuits. At least at this point. There's still, what is it, 4 more circuit boards to go after this? Yeah, we'll tackle those when we get to them. But yeah, I think we done not a bad day's work here. This is not too bad. I love doing this, by the way. I absolutely love this. I'm also not sure about these catwalks anymore in here. Obviously we have the railings down, but we might, I don't know, we might remove them. The other option is to include some rope here, which we might, is it rope? Yeah, it is rope. We must be out of rope. You can put rope on the catwalks and it gives it this sort of border effect on the edges. I think that might be quite effective. I might have to make up some more of this. For now though, I think we can call this system done. Oh yeah, I did put a downgrade on this one. I left this one default, I left this one default. And I didn't mention the glowstone is used in some assembler recipes here and there. No, chemical reactor recipes, that's right, for the nano wafers. And nano wafers are used in the IV and EV circuits. They can be upgraded to nano CPU wafers and then qubits. Qubits are used in the quantums, which we haven't made yet because this takes a lot of platinum. But this is the final tier of EV circuit. And redstone is used in a couple of assembler recipes here and there. Yeah, like the processors from Applied Energistics. Which is what I was talking about earlier when I said we can't quite auto-craft the full thing of the fluid storage buses. But with a little bit of extra work, we should be able to at this point. But the focus right now is getting this multi-smelter up and running. And it's going to go right here. At least the first one. The second one we are going to place in ore processing. Yeah, the second one we are going to place right here. But let's do the one we're going to use for on-demand crafting first. And I don't think I mentioned this, but during one of the, you might have caught it during one of the time lapses. I added the functionality for us to coat wire into cable. This one I just encoded is wrong. It should be in a Circuit 24 dual interface for an assembler. Let's see if we can catch it while it's crafting. I just ordered 12 aluminium cable. Yeah, it's this one here. Yeah, so that gave us some more aluminium cable. We're going to use this to hook up the energy hatch right here. EV again. And then we'll do input bus. I think we have to do a maintenance hatch on the bottom layer. I could be wrong about that. Muffler hatch has to go on top, which has to have a free space. We also need an output bus. Oh, nice. We have a spare output ME bus. I don't know where that came from, but I guess we can use it for this, right? Output directly into the Applied Energistics system. And then for input for the patterns, we can just have an interface, which we'll put all the patterns into. Might have to extend the dense cable, but this is only one channel for now. And this will be multi-smelter. Does it have a dash in the name? No dash, just a space. Multi-smelter. Yeah, I guess it's just multi-smelter. No circuit numbers. Just a fancy furnace. And then we also need heat proofs. The same casing as the blast furnace. It's like a little baby blast furnace, this one. And similar to the blast furnace, you might have noticed in the preview, it also takes a set of coil blocks. Just 8 coils, but still we need coils nonetheless. So a little earlier today, perhaps not as early as I should have, I did start to mix up some HSSG dust, and that is currently making its way through the blast furnace over here. I have no idea if it's finished yet. I suspect probably not. Let's see. 57? I don't think that's enough for 8 coils. Although, to be honest, we're going to need 16 coils, right? Because we're building 2 of these. We do have a spare set of Canthal. Yeah, we are just going to use the Canthal right now, and we'll upgrade these things later on. And it did form the multi-block. Yes, perfect. Unlike the blast furnace though, the multi-smelter does not give you any sort of energy discount as far as I'm aware. Items smelted increase coil tier, so the coils only affect how many items you can smelt at once. So yeah, I guess it's not as big of a deal to upgrade the coils on your multi-smelter as it is on the blast furnaces. Still should be useful nonetheless. Okay, this one is running perfectly. Do we have some other coils? I guess we can use nichrome for the ones downstairs. This one will also need to get its buses and hatches, like so. And I realized that we actually need the ME output bus for this one. It's more beneficial to put it on this network because of the way we have these set up. So I did go and yoink the output bus from the other multi-smelter and just replace that with a regular one. This one outputs to the black network, and then input for this one is going to be a storage bus. I've lost count of how many storage buses I've made today because we need them to craft the fluid ones and also the item variants. So many storage buses all over the place. Yeah, so the input to this will get a storage bus. And this is on the, I guess this is cyan. Let's quickly do some maintenance. Running fine, that's perfect. Oh, and you know what? Let's also do item detector cover, machine controller. Redstone on, machine on. Safe mode. I'm not sure if the item detectors though will detect the output bus, the ME output bus. That's an interaction I don't think I've ever tried before. Let's do like 128, since it does so many items in parallel. And I guess it would be detect any slot or all slots. Okay, so that should prevent voiding. If you guys know how that interaction works, then let me know. But yeah, we're on cyan network here, right? Which is the bottom line. Goes all the way down. And where does this go exactly? It goes into blank. Aha. Yeah, we are going to change that. And we're going to keep it cyan because it's on this side of the room. Only we are going to steal this interface storage bus combination here, which used to go to centrifuge 2. This shouldn't have anything inside though, because the centrifuges now take their items from the red network, from our main net. It's no longer taking the input from the subnet here. So that receives its items another way. So here we're going to grab this interface and we will hook it up to the cyan channel, which is now going to be the multi-smelter. So this will get an interface here and we'll connect it to the black network. And now we are going to use this to passively smelt anything that comes through ore processing, which we want to be smelted. Like, for example, malachite, I think. Malachite, there's actually a few different options on what we can do with malachite dust. We can electrolyze it into 2 copper, some oxygen and hydrogen. But this is 10 malachite for 2 copper and some carbon. It might actually not be such a bad deal. But my thinking at the moment is we have enough producers of oxygen and hydrogen. Carbon we will have once we set up 1,2-dimethyl benzene. So I think the best other alternative is just to smelt it into copper because we need a lot of copper. And this will give us 1-to-1, so all we have to do is insert this into the storage bus. And this works the same way we have everything else filtered, mostly. So anytime we insert anything, any malachite in here, or any malachite comes out of the machines, it's going to be sent into the storage bus first. And it should have been sent into the multi-smelter there. Yes, it's on. Nice. And I'm going to assume it just done a full stack there. Let's double check how much copper we have. 28? Wait, that doesn't seem right. We should have at least a stack. Oh yeah, of course it goes into overflow because there is no output set up for this yet. Yeah, so this is also on the black network. We need it to be sent into white network, which is the outbound for all of the ore processed goods. So I think to do that, we already have an ore dictionary filter here. So I totally didn't plan for this, but we should be able to add and ingot wildcard. That should work in theory, right? Because that is going to match the ore dictionary that's on every type of ingot. I'm not sure if every single item that comes out of the multi-smelter ends up an ingot. But if that's not the case, then we can add it to this specific storage bus, which is also on the outbound. However, now if we put it on the overflow chest, it should be sent and not come back. It doesn't. That means this line here is wrong. Now do you work? Oh, nice, nice. Okay, the fix was actually very simple. We just have to change the and here before ingot into or. Let's do another test here. And yeah, this won't pull any malachite that already exists here. It only does new malachite, or malachite which is being processed already. So now if we put this into overflow, it should be sent to the multi-smelter, and we should see over a stack of copper in our system now. Oh yeah, it's coming through 156, 188, 220. Oh yeah. That was like 2 seconds for two ingots. Because there's basically zero travel time with the way we have this set up. With a storage bus distribution, it's awesome. So yeah, there's a lot more filters we have to add to this. I'll do that between episodes. And similarly, let's do a final test on the other multi-smelter. This one will be for things we want to do on demand. Like the gold ingots, for example. Let's add a recipe for gold ingots. So it's going to be gold dust to gold ingots, and we'll do this like as many as we can at a time, 2 stacks at a time, and this will go into multi-smelter. And the reason we don't just filter all the gold, for example, or all the copper dust is because we need dust specifically for some places. For example, to make black bronze, we need copper dust, but we can't use malachite dust. So the malachite dust is pretty much useless other than to electrolyze or to smelt like what we saw. So in some places we do need to keep the dust and we'll smelt on demand, because this should be super, super fast. Let's do like 1,000 gold and let's see how fast this finishes. We're not even going to have time to run down there. Yes, we are, because I forgot the machine controller. Redstone on, machine on. I've reduced the opacity of Whaler, but it's 3 seconds per recipe. I'm not sure how much it does at once. 16? I guess it's 16 for these Canthal coils. It'll go up as soon as we upgrade these things. 16 isn't too bad. It's way better than the steam oven though, right? Yeah, so this thing is taking its sweet time. I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. Oh, hey, dude. I'm not going to hit you. Not this time. So with that, I think it's also a really good point to wrap up the episode. This felt very different. I don't know why, this episode felt very different for me. Let me know what you guys think. Oh yeah, we already took that. I'm here for the ore drill, which sounds like it's finished. I had this on a diamond vein. Diamond, since we're going through so much diamond for the interfaces for applied energistics. Let's see what we got here. Lapis, more lapis, more lapis, more lapis, more lapis. Oh my goodness, look at this. It looks like I didn't even add enough compressed chest, and this was 6, I think. There's some diamond mixed in here. Yeah, I think we can run this even a bit longer. It looks like it just stopped itself. Anyways, that is going to do us for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next episode. Man, I can't believe these things spawn without a bed.